football show country with this wild sport. I'm your host, Michael Felder, from Stadium, and I've got a couple of superstars joining me on Field at 12 After Dark. We've got Clint Stoerner. Obviously, you know him from the Dallas Cowboys, more likely from the Arkansas Razorbacks, baby. Radio and TV host, analyst on Sports Radio 610, Cox Sports TV, and obviously the Field of 12. And then we've got Kevin Sumlin, the coach, our coach. You know him from Texas A&M. You know him from Houston. You know him from Arizona. Working on big things, being that Field of 12 analyst. And people forget, and Coach Sumlin, I want to get this in here. Even though you've had these prolific offenses, I do want to remind folks that you did play linebacker at Purdue.
Yeah. That meant I wasn't good enough to play offense because I played offense in high school. They just moved me over there, and this guy named Joe Tiller. People think of him as a offensive guru. He was actually the defensive coordinator at Purdue, and I moved over there. I went to play nickel. Allegedly, but they sent me to the linebacker room and I never came back out. That meant I was too slow to play in the back end. So, but I had a great time there, a lot of good friends. Matter of fact, I'll be up there this week for their opening game Thursday night.
Well, that's a big one. So, you know what? Let's hold on to that game. We'll get to it at the end. But here's what we're going to do. We got a lot to get to tonight. We're going to talk about coaches moving around, new faces, new places. We're going to talk some big SEC games in week one. We're going to talk about the Quinn, and I've had a hard time saying this, the Quinn Ewers era. Clint, can you say that for me 3 times fast?
Not
Quinn
3 times
Ewers
fast. Not 3 times fast. I can give it to you 1 time. Quinn Ewers. How's that?
Era.
Does that sound all right? Oh,
You got it.
era.
No.
You want me to
add
add
the
that
era part, yeah.
Hey, you're getting paid to drive this damn thing. I'm just over here listening, baby.
So, Clint and Coach, we're going to break it all down. But first, I'm your host. We're going to kick the show off with a toast. Clint, what you got?
Well, I'm gonna toast this thing to the first show that I get to do with Coach Sumlin. I'll tell a real quick story. I'll make it short.
Sure.
I was playing ball at the time. I think I was in Dallas. I don't know if I was playing arena ball or pro ball. I don't remember or in the NFL. I don't remember. But I came home. Tricky Dick Olin is a high school legend in Texas, and he had a golf tournament right here in Baytown at my hometown, and I just literally come in on 2 wheels, and he threw me in a cart and said, "Hey man, go play golf." I played 9 holes and I got through. I said, "Coach," Coach Olin, of course he wasn't playing. His ass was sitting up there chilling. I said, "Coach," I said, "Man, who is this dude you got me in the cart with, man?" He goes, That's Coach Sumlin, you dumbass." I said, "Coach, excuse me, if it wasn't a 6-foot blonde with hair down to about mid-back wearing clothes that were too tight for in Dallas, Texas, I wasn't sure who it was. You know what I mean?" But point of the story is this. I played 9 holes of golf with Coach Sumlin, and not one time did Coach Sumlin say, "Hey, I'm Coach Sumlin." Now, at the time, I think you were at Texas A&M, Coach. I think you were the assistant head coach, wide receiver coach at Texas A&M, and it wasn't. You weren't quite to your U of H days, but tell me another coach and anybody out there knows that would ride 9 holes with the football player and not be stroking his own ego and telling you who he is. So, Coach Sumlin, that's probably the first time you heard that story, man. I want to tell you I appreciate it, and since that day, people come at me and say, "That damn Coach Sumlin, he can't call no damn plays. Coach Sumlin don't know what he's doing at A&M. Coach Sumlin." I said, no, that ain't Coach Sumlin. That ain't the guy I know, baby. Coach, I appreciate you from way back, man. That meant a lot to me, and I've thought the world of you ever since, man. So good to do a show with you.
I appreciate it. It's because I didn't have anything to say because my golf game was awful at that point, and I was struggling for 9 holes.
All right, Coach Sumlin, you're up on the toast, Coach Sumlin. What you got?
It's kind of a serious one. I thought about this, and I got kind of in trouble a couple of weeks ago for my first toast, and I got a son at OU, and I gave my toast to Mike Gundy. But so I that things have been tough at home for that. But this one's a little bit different. Just thinking about everything that's happened in the landscape of college football, my toast goes to the commissioner of the Big Ten, Kevin Warren, right? Who took a lot of heat the last couple of years when you take over for a legend in Jim Delaney. I mean, a complete legend. Everybody's worried about, well, how are we moving forward? What are we doing?
He's a Tar Heel.
Yeah. There you go. Then you look up, all right, and if you read the fine print of the deal they just did, what's that? $1.7 billion a year for 7 years, right? But then if you keep reading it and you see what happened the week before, so you add 2 teams from the West Coast, an SC, UCLA, everybody says that makes no sense. You read the fine print of this contract where there are escalators in the contract money-wise for the Big Ten to add other teams, which means, hey, look, there's going to be travel partners for these 2 West Coast teams somewhere. And so, the other Pac-12 teams, they've got a couple choices now with the Big 12 and now the Big 10. What he did, what Kevin Warren did, I think was monumental for football. I think all these questions about super conferences, that's over with. That ship has sailed. It's headed down that road. It's a matter of now there's going to be 16 teams. Are we going to have 20 teams? Are we going to go right now? You're looking at Penn State to SC and UCLA. They're headed across the country with a major television contract that is really going to put the Big Ten, I think. Everybody talks about the SEC. I spent a bunch of time in there, but right now, where they're headed right now is a league, and with that kind of marketability from coast to coast, that's a big step for the Big Ten. So my toast goes to Kevin Warren.
I dig it, man. I am digging it. You guys are all spot on. I'm going to do a quick one here, and we'll get to mine at the back end of the show. We'll elaborate on it a little bit more. But listen, I'm 37 years old. I went to UNC. I like to say I practiced a lot of football at UNC because I didn't get in the game. But the reality of it is UNC and NC State, they do not play App State and ECU ever. In my lifetime, they almost never played. But on one Saturday in September in 2022, we're going to see both of these teams square up. UNC is going to go to the Rock. NC State's going to Dowdy-Ficklin. Both of my parents graduated from ECU. So I'm just cheering for whoever got that set up. They did the damn thing. They got it set up. It's happening, baby. Unbelievable. And let me tell you, boom. And I'll say this, with the exception of maybe LSU, ECU has the best midfield logo. And let me ask you guys something. Sumlin and Clint, they have the best team saying. Do you know what no quarter means?
No.
No clue.
So ECU's team slogan is no quarter. No quarter means we take no prisoners. We kill everyone on that boat when we take that ship over and steal everything that you have. And that's their team motto.
Leave no quarter, huh? Literally.
Yeah. No quarter.
And that's not a midfield. That's not a midfield logo. That is pretty much a half of the whole field, right?
Yeah, they take everything. They take everything. Let's go, baby. Okay, so we're going to talk about new coaches. And I guess we are going to talk about new coaches. We're going to talk about the SEC games. I want to spring this one on you guys. I know they kind of hit on it on Saturday, Sunday. But I want to hit on it now. Do you think that the onside kick is what lost the game for Nebraska against Northwestern? Or was it all the other things, the turnovers in the fourth quarter and all the kind of the poor decision-making, the inability to execute?
You going, Clint?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't believe in any one play cost him the game.
Thank you.
And it's coming from a guy that I fumbled the ball in the national championship on the damn line. So that's a mouthful, brother. But no, I mean, look, as I watch that game, and I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it as closely as I do some others. But that game, if I'm going to sum it up as one, it didn't seem like Nebraska adjusted in the second half. They
Yes.
came out. They came out and had some success early. New offensive coordinator, new quarterback. They changed some things. Nobody had ever really seen what they were going to look like offensively. They hit some big plays, and then they came out in the second half. And now the quarterback didn't play real clean. I mean, but some of those balls he threw. Go ahead, I'm listening. I see you. I know you, Mike. You hit that right there. I got to stop. What you got?
I'm calling a timeout. I want to get Clint. I want you to give me 30 seconds, and then Coach, I want you to give me 30 seconds. When they went off script, after they got off script, and how important is a script to early success versus when you have to actually call plays when the defense adjusts? Clint first, then you go, Coach.
Well, look, I mean, I'll let Coach talk about calling plays. I tried to do it for some fifth graders one time, and I was nervous as hell, man. The parents were cussing me out, so that ain't my forte. I like to talk about the guys that are doing it. Look, if a script works, if you can stay on that script and you stay ahead of the chains, then it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. If what you game plan is what unfolds on the field in front of you, it's an absolutely beautiful thing, and it's unstoppable. But it's night and day difference. Once you come off that script and adjustments are made after that, sometimes after the first drive, much less at halftime, it's a different ball game. And to me, that's where you really separate the great coordinators from just good coordinators, is their ability to adjust on the fly like that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Clint. I think what can't be overlooked, right, and whether, people want to admit it or not, where Nebraska is right now as a program with the onside kick, there was a combination of things. I'm with you. One play in a game does not really dictate the outcome. But where they are as a program, so many close games that they haven't been able to get over the hump. You get the turnover, big hit, cause fumble, boom, momentum. Okay. And then for the game really to become what should have been a 2-score game at that point gets back to a 1-score game really quickly. And you're in the fourth quarter now. And I know every year is different. You're going to talk about that reloading, but you got a lot of guys on that sideline, a lot of guys in that locker room that are looking up at the clock saying, oh, here we go again, right? It's fourth quarter. We're less than a score. When you're in a team or you're in a program where, all right, we win these games, the complete thought process, the complete feeling on the sideline is different. And, it just looked to me like everybody got really tight in that situation from on the Nebraska sideline. And let's not, there was a lot of people criticizing Northwestern on third down, right?
Yeah.
2 times in a row, run the ball, punting it, playing defense, really saying, hey, look, we're going to give it back to them and hope they screw it up, not trying to win the game. And so, until they can come out of one of those games, right, and win one, it's a complete, like, take a breath. And if you've done this long enough, you've been on both sides of that. You've been on a team where, hey, look, if we're down 2 touchdowns going in the fourth quarter, we still going to win this game, right? Or you might be up 3 points in the fourth quarter and certain teams going, oh man, and so, and that feeling is hard to get over until you win those games. And that's the hard part for Scott Frost. I think, so many of those have happened, and there's so many guys that are on that team that have seen it happen. Until you get over that hump, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? And I think that's a great transition into this next phase where we talk about new faces in new places, or old faces really in new places, where we're going to talk about Brian Kelly, Mario Cristobal, Billy Napier, and Lincoln Riley. We're going to talk about those 4 guys, and we got LSU, Miami, Florida, and USC. So let's start with this. And I want to, Coach Sumlin, I want to push this to you first, because you've been in this situation. You get off that PJ, right? That private jet. You get off, whether it's a helicopter or a private jet, you walk to that podium. What does that feel like on your shoulders?
Well, it's different in different situations. When you got to remember, when I got to A&M, they'd never played a game in the SEC, so nobody really knew what the hell was coming. I mean, I'd been on the field with even at Houston with Mississippi State and a couple other teams and the SEC, and then coaching Oklahoma, I knew what kind of football we were getting ready to get into. So recruiting, it becomes important, and you've got to keep the momentum. I think the challenge really for these guys that you've got different situations. Mario has been at Miami, so there's an understanding when you're an assistant coach in a major program, you understand what that place is about. Go ahead.
Hang on. What do we think about Miami right now?
We don't know.
As a program overall, Cristobal independent. What do we think about Miami overall?
I mean, you don't know. There's a bunch of unknowns. We know that you can get in your car and sign 25 guys a year, right? You don't have to get on a plane. Go national for a quarterback.
You can, but those kids also already. The difference to me, and listen, I mentioned I'm almost 40, right? So I understand.
I thought you were going to pull a Mike Gundy right there.
I'm a man. I'm 40. But the reality of it is, to me, is these kids know that other schools exist.
Right.
This isn't where you got one football game a week on ABC plus the Notre Dame game, and then maybe a Jefferson Pilot or whatever it was game. They know that Oregon's out there. They know that USC's out there. They know Alabama's out there. They know Texas is out there. They know Clemson. Clemson is out there. They know Wisconsin is out there. They know all these teams are out there. And it just doesn't seem like it's as easy to put a fence around the quote unquote, what did Schnellenberger call it? The state of Miami. Him and Butch Davis called it the state of Miami. So that's why I wanted to ask, what do we think about Miami?
But they ain't, guys. Let's be honest. Miami is the U, and you can hang on to that tradition if you want to. But Mario Cristobal's got an uphill battle. He's got a battle like that's unique to itself, and it's as difficult as any place in America to go have success coming on when you take a gig where there's not already success. If there was already success and it was just keep the train on the tracks, that'd be fine. And I don't know how much has changed, let's say, coach, in the last, 10 years, maybe. I don't know if you guys have been to a game at Miami. But Miami is so far behind when it comes to facilities.
They just got new facilities. They just upgraded their facilities.
But upgrading ain't enough. They needed to quadruple what they had. You've been to Texas A&M. You've been to College Station. I went down there and watched Coach down there one year when I was with the SEC Network. I mean, there is just so much work to be done at Miami to get on the same level with the programs that we put them on the same level with. Like, there's so much to be done from a facility standpoint and a all the bells and whistles to help recruit these kids. New facilities ain't gonna work. It's got to be an absolute monster in order for Mario Cristobal to be able to have.
Let me just chime in here real quick. All right.
Yeah.
To your point, Clint, and my point, I think just like me going back to Texas A&M as a head coach, I was an assistant coach there for RC, right? When things were not, the facilities weren't that, right? And when you're other places, I think that Mario, and I'm with you, it's a real uphill battle, but I think he will get time because of his experience being there beforehand, number one. But number two, he's been in Oregon, right? So he's seen some of the best facilities in the country.
There we go.
When he sits down and talks to the president, the athletic director, or the people who are actually going to pay boosters, here's what it looks like from a national standpoint. Not the you of old, right? But here's where we have to be to keep up with the Joneses. And I think because of his experiences being outside the program at Alabama and in Oregon, he's seen the best of the best, right? What that looks like. And so his ability to say, hey, here's what we need, and that we need some time to do that. I think he's positioned, and it's gonna take some time. I mean, it's gonna take some time. And the problem is patience, right? So, he knows what it looks like, he knows what it needs to look like. And I think because of that, they've got a little better chance maybe than they've had maybe in the last 10 years.
Well, they play in the ACC, which We've got Clemson as the big dog, and then we'll figure out what happens after behind them. So we got Brian Kelly at LSU, Cristobal at Miami, Napier at Florida, Lincoln Riley at USC. Who do you think sees the most immediate success, and what does that success look like? So let's who do we? If I had to go, Clint, 1 through 4, who sees the most immediate success? Kelly, Cristobal, Napier, Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
That's 1. Who's 2?
I'd go Napier 2.
Napier 2.
I'd go Cristobal 3, Brian Kelly 4.
Brian Kelly 4. Okay, Coach Sumlin, what do you got?
Dang, I hate to agree with Clint. I just hate it. That's why I didn't say anything for 9 holes. That's good.
Come on. So you're going
I 1 through 4 exactly. I'm gonna tell you why though. Right?
Okay. Tell me why.
You have a phenomenal talent at USC and Caleb Williams, right?
Hang on.
Might be one of the best players in the country.
Hang on. I'm calling a timeout here.
You been out of these damn timeouts.
Listen, hey,
that's 3. So the half is over with. You gotta wait till the second half.
Okay, so I got to wait 9 more minutes to get my next 3 timeouts. Don't worry about it. I got them. Okay, but with Caleb Williams, I think Caleb Williams, and we also mentioned Billy Napier, right? I think Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson are they're tied together. They are, and I worked with Trent Dilfer a lot when I was with Bleacher Report, and he said something that always resonated with me, where we want surgeons, not butchers. And those guys are big play machines, but they do still feel like butchers, not surgeons. Like the difference between them and CJ Stroud and Bryce Young is wide, right? Guys who make precise decisions and understand what they're supposed to do with the football. Potential is amazing. Both of those guys off the walls potential, amazing potential. But playing within the construct of the offense is the thing that I am concerned with, because we saw when they played teams that were incredibly disciplined defensively, that's where they had problems. And that comes with understanding, being able to read the defense. So when we talk about Lincoln Riley, we talk about Caleb Williams, how big do we expect his next step to be, Coach?
Well, I'd say this. The advantage again here is that Lincoln had him last year, right?
Yes.
And he didn't even start him, right? Early.
Yep.
Then
Not early.
Comes out, has a hell of a game against Texas, really wins the game, and wins a couple games.
They needed him to win the game.
They needed him to win. Hell, they were down, 3 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
So not needed him to win the game. The game was over if he's not playing.
Yeah.
And so I think that process, and he's a freshman, didn't play all the time. So his upside, like you said, is tremendous. And don't forget that he's got the same coach. That's
huge.
You know the upside, the deficiencies already. Billy Napier, let's not get it confused, is a hell of a football coach.
Yes.
And he's got a hell of a talent. And so, I just think the growth curve there is a little bit different when you have a guy that you've been on the field with, you've made adjustments with, exactly who he is. And when you talk to him now, it's not a new relationship. It's a relationship of, hey, here's where you screwed this up a year ago. And with guys like that, it's not about, hey, we're going to get better. But the first thing we got to do is get rid of the bad things. If we can hang on to the football and let you be talented, but continue to grow, but get rid of the mistakes that you made as a freshman, then the upside is tremendous. And I think because of that, I got to give the advantage to Lincoln, because he's had him and Caleb have been through the battles before.
Well, listen, Clint, I want to let you get in here, but what we're really talking about, and just to put it into scope for people, we're talking about a 18-month relationship, a little bit more probably, because you recruited him. So we're talking about that. If that's your girlfriend, you're moving in. versus 6-month relationship, maybe she hasn't even met your folks yet, which is what Billy Napier's dealing with at Florida, right? Am I wrong, Clint?
Yeah, I mean, right, wrong. I don't know, Mike. Look, I mean, here's the thing: is I think it's so much more complicated than what we're talking, man. I mean, like you look at Caleb Williams.
Yes.
Caleb Williams is never going to look like C.J. Stroud looks at Ohio State and like Bryce Young looks at Alabama. He's playing the air raid. I mean, the air raid quarterback is never going to look like C.J. Stroud at Ohio State or Bryce Young at Alabama. It's just two total different offenses. I mean, it's a total different get up. And so Caleb Williams he's never going to be that guy. Caleb Williams, the advantage there is you're going to USC with Lincoln Riley, where the verbiage is the same because your head coach is the same. And it's not just the same for Caleb Williams, guys. That they were running air raid out there for the last 4 or 5 years with Graham Harrell.
Yeah.
I mean, so the guys that didn't transfer in, right? They got 4 starters on the offense that didn't transfer in. The guys that were there, the entire offensive line, they were already running that scheme. And I know everybody's got their little tweaks to it. I know it's not the high school air raid from 95. I understand that. But it is the similarity, the verbiage, similarity that there is a lot of good that's going to happen right now at USC potentially that's not the case at Florida. Like Napier's walking into, you'll love this. So I'm talking to a coach that was at Florida. Hell with it. It was Muschamp that was at Florida before he was at South Carolina. He's at South Carolina when I'm talking to him. And he was trying to explain to me kind of like how Florida's a different animal. Like being a head coach in Florida for the University of Florida, the people are different, right? Than some other places. And he was trying to explain to me what the hell he meant, right? Well, Coach, what was the dude's name off the top of my head? It just went blank. What was the dude's name that was the head coach at Kentucky? Jones. No. Black dude. Not black dude. He had like Popeye Jones. What was his name, Coach?
No, Popeye Jones played in the NBA.
Popeye Jones was an NBA player.
No. What I was saying, he had
not even the same state, right?
He had the ears. He had the ears like Popeye Jones. What I'm talking about? He had the ears like
an assistant coach at Florida. Yeah, I got you.
I can't think of his damn name, but anyway, there was an upheaval in the locker room. Right. And Muschamp said, "Hey man, go in there and check on them boys. Go in there and check. Go in there and get that right." Muschamp, because Muschamp had to do some media. He had there you go. That Joker Phillips. There you go. Muschamp had to work with the media, right? So he gets done with his media and he goes walking towards the damn locker room, and all of a sudden he gets thrown out of the locker room, and he comes out, his shirt's all ripped open. And Muschamp's like, what happened? He said, they told me to get my ass up out of there and that they would handle it. I mean, they went on and won 11 games that year. They went on and won 11 games. It's my only point. I was joking about my only point in saying all that is like Billy Napier's got a whole different animal. He's got to try to corral out there and make it work. And boy, if he can make it work, I mean, Spurrier showed you what's possible. But if he can't, if he's a fish out of water, and you get Dan Mullins. I mean, look, Dan Mullins a little awkward now. And what's the other old boy that was out there before him? Hey man,
McElwain.
There you go. Hey man, they'll test you out there now.
Well, hey, let's talk fish out of water.
Wait. Go back real quick.
All
right. And you know this too, Clint. If you go back statistically, right, and look at when you play the Swamp at night, statistically is one of the hardest places as a visiting team to win. Their win percentage at night is ridiculous. And it's not just that team. It's like you said, the fans are on top of you. It is a hell of a place to play football. And that energy there, and Billy's going to embrace that. I mean, that's who he is. And I think it's a good fit for him. It's going to take him some time because he is completely different than Dan Mullen. But he's got talent. But like you said, it's a different place. But if you get it corralled and you get everything moving in the right direction, it becomes a damn hard place to win games as an opposing team. I mean, in the Swamp, it just is. It's a great atmosphere. The fans care. They're passionate like everybody else in the SEC. But at night, that place is about as tough as there is in the country to play.
Hey, Coach, I got one for you real quick. We played them boys down there in 97. You remember they won the championship in 96. We played them boys in 97. First of all, I set a record. They sacked me more times in that game than anybody ever been sacked in an SEC game. First of all. Hey, here, number two, Coach. I throw a screen about the fourth drive of the game. We're negative 30 yards in 4 drives. And I throw a screen, and the fastest guy on my team breaks it. He hits, we block it up perfect. He breaks it. Javon Curse caught him 16 yards down the field, defensive end. Yeah. And then, Coach, every quarterback in a Florida uniform threw a touchdown before my ass did, and I played all 4 quarters.
I'm telling you, it's there. It's a tough place now. It's tough.
Golly.
I mean, listen, that reminds me of when we played Miami. When I was at UNC, we played Miami, and we made the mistake of playing Trick Daddy, which obviously Trick Daddy is from Miami. And they started jumping on the sideline, and everyone had a 35-inch vertical, and we were like, how are offensive linemen jumping this high? We're going to lose.
Oh, Trick Daddy.
Trick Daddy. Come on.
Trick Daddy. You ever seen Trick Daddy Cribs? You remember Cribs back in the day?
Yeah, he had the Scarface room.
Trick Daddy had a Dan Marino jersey in a 8x10 frame on the landing of his staircase, and he pulled that camera. He said, "Get on down here and look at this." He said, "This is a real Dan Marino jersey." And he said, like, "What?" He said, "This is a real Dan Marino jersey." Yeah, this is when Dan Marino was fresh out the coochie.
Well, listen, he also made something called he made crump fritters, and he had a Scarface room on that episode of Cribs. That's a fact. I know. Listen, man. Dagan, I know we got to get to Utah, Florida, but I do want to get to Brian Kelly really quickly. So let's go really quick on Brian Kelly, because you talked about culture fit, and you talked about someone meshing with a team. Brian Kelly, for me, as a culture fit, is the most wild thing. And because when I was at UNC, we played in that Bo Pelini defense. So everything that LSU did, I was like, oh, that's a missed assignment. That's a missed alignment. That's a missed assignment. That's a missed alignment. When they had Bo Pelini as a defensive coordinator, I was like, and then Orgeron came out and said, oh, they're not listening to what we're telling them to do. They're just doing their own thing. Why should I believe that they're going to listen to Brian Kelly, a guy that, as George Whitfield talked about, Clint, when we were on last time, he coaches really hard. He's a guy that we know makes people feel uncomfortable at times. What makes us think that this LSU team is going to listen to him when you talk about a team buying into something? Anybody can answer.
I don't believe it's going to work. I really don't. I know Brian Kelly is an absolute monster coach. But I think there are a handful of universities left across the landscape of college football that it has to be a unique fit. We just talked about Florida, and maybe Napier's that guy. Clearly, the 2 guys before were not. And I think if we're being honest, I think a couple of us probably could have told you that if you're sitting in a room with those McElwain and Dan Mullen. But I think LSU is one of those places now. You know, is he given 3 or 4 years to succeed? And is the expectations to be competitive in the top of the SEC West again in 3 or 4 years? Then yeah, I think he'll be fine. He'll coach his way out of that one. But I think it's going to be a rough first couple of years with Brian Kelly and LSU.
Yeah, I'm with you about fit. You know that everybody knows Brian. And he's a hell of a coach too. I mean, he's a
great coach. He's a fantastic coach.
He did things at Notre Dame nobody thought was going to happen.
Cincinnati, Central Michigan,
everywhere. And this is a different place. It just is, right? LSU is, as we all know, is that's a rough place to play too. But all things being said, he's a smart guy. I mean, he didn't have to take that job if he doesn't believe in something or know something. And I think, if you're given time, and that's the problem in the SEC, there is no such thing as that, right?
Right. There's no time.
You got 4 years at the max to figure out what the hell is going on. And then
if they like you.
If they like you, right? And so, there's some real challenges there. But that being said, I think from his standpoint, I think he sees the upside. I think, they've had, you look back, you've had 2 coaches there before, whatever the circumstances were to get rid of them. They both won national championships and they still got fired, right?
Yeah.
So as coaches go, that's one of the toughest jobs in America, right? So, it'll be interesting to see, what that's going to look like for him, just because of fit, and just because Baton Rouge is a lot different now than being in Michigan and South Bend and Cincinnati. And there's not a lot of patience around there for not winning at least 11, 12 games and being in the playoffs.
Especially not a lot of patience for losing to Alabama. And I think that's one of the things that, over the course of my lifetime, watching in Auburn and Alabama, I will always consider one of the greatest rivalries. The Iron Bowl is amazing. But watching the way that LSU has bubbled up, especially because of Nick Saban coaching at LSU, leaving, then going to Bama, and the way that they hate him, that's you understand what I'm saying, Coach?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. But like I said, he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's proven that wherever he's been. But I think this is going to be a real challenge for him from, as you said, from personality and fit wise. Everybody's like, well, that just doesn't make any sense. Only advice, I don't give a lot of coaches advice. I've had my share of people getting rid of my ass. So, but I think he should stop dancing during the recruiting video. That's the only thing I'd say.
I get it.
Hey,
I dig it.
Look here, man. I'm with you. That old corny ass accent and that dancing with the neon lights in that blue room, and then addressing the media, talking about with that goofy introduction or whatever it was he did. That stuff's real cute, Coach. Before you play a ball game, but hell, man, you know it more than anybody, man. When you get out there and you in the middle of a tough year, that shit ain't so cute no more, man. So I think, and again, you can speak to this more than me, Coach, because you've been in, like literally in that seat. Like that kind of stuff 10 years ago didn't matter. Now,
right.
A fan may think Coach Sumlin's silly as hell if he gets up there and does some silly accent or something, but ultimately your locker room don't give a rip. That stuff, all of that stuff right now matters in a locker room and in recruiting. Tenfold more than it ever has. And again,
yes.
It's cute. It's cute before you play a game, but if you're 500 and all of a sudden you're out there recruiting, doing that stuff ain't gonna be real cute to the recruits or the donors.
Well, it's if you're not. It's if it's disingenuous is my thing. If you're fake, like here's the thing. I'm moving back to North Carolina in a month. Okay, and I can tell you right now, I know what's going to happen to my voice. And let me just drop one in for you. As soon as I move back to North Carolina, I'm going to start talking like this again. And my whole, that's what I'm going to sound like.
Mike, what part of North Carolina are you from?
I'm from Charlotte, but I was born in Fayetteville and spent all my summers in Fayetteville, and we cut the light on. Okay? But that's just the reality of my life. But that's real. It's not fake. Yeah. I'm not putting it on.
That's key.
I'm not putting it on. And I think that's the part that's going to be interesting to see how it works. Guys, guess what? We've passed the 30-minute mark. We've got 20 minutes left. And you also know I did get my 3 timeouts back, just for the record. So I got my 3 timeouts for the back half of the show. We're going to kick this off. We already talked a little Billy Napier, but we're going to talk about Utah at Florida. One, how proud are we of Florida playing this game? Just scheduling this game. How proud are we of them? By the way, my wife's down here. I'm going to have a shot with my wife. So thank you.
I don't think Florida knew who Utah was going to be when they scheduled this sunbuck, Mike. This was done a couple years back, I think. And I'd imagine old Napier wishes they wouldn't have done that damn deal right now, considering how good Utah is this year. But I think it's a hell of a football game. I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for the Pac-12 SEC clash, man. This is big time.
Yeah, Coach Sumlin, are you?
Well,
if this is your first game, right, do you look at your AD and you go, "What are you doing to me, man?"
Well, I think, what people don't get, a lot of times these relationships go back 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago on schedule.
Sure.
And there's a guy named Urban Meyer who worked at both places. People forget about that. Right?
Bingo.
So Billy had probably nothing to do with this. So, I think that the big deal is, for a program like Utah, and let's just say what it is, Kyle Whittingham is one of the best coaches in the country for what they've done, what they've accomplished, where they
He's
are.
Amazing.
And how they play football, and as tough as they are in the Pac-12, it'll be interesting. And I think it's two people who schedule it, you know what I mean? Because, I don't know, what Kyle's been there 15 years probably as well, has had opportunities to leave. This will be a big game for, that's always dangerous when, you have a program that people maybe locally at Florida don't have as much respect for.
They don't. Don't say maybe. Don't say maybe. Because
I'm trying to be nice here, right? So
But I'm here's the reality. There's two things that have happened. One, I've had multiple people. I was doing the radio and I said that I think Utah might go down there and stomp a mud hole in. And that's the reality. It's your first game with a new coach, new system, new team, with a team who knows exactly who they are. And I've said this multiple times. Florida, they are a team full of thoroughbreds. They are AKC certified. They will show up at the Westminster Kennel Dog Club, and they got all their papers. Utah is a team full of mutts, junkyard dogs, but when you let them off the leash, those boys are going to hurt you. And win or lose, Florida better get in the cold tub after this football game because Utah's going to beat your body up. They are a team like they're a boxer that delivers body shots. And the fact that you can get knocked out from body shots from Utah, that's what they do. They want to make you hurt. They want to make you black and blue. And I've had so many Florida fans be like, we could never lose to Utah. Have you seen our roster? And I'm like, have you seen Utah play one game ever? And they're like, no, I never watched Utah play. And I'm like, okay, well, so you don't know what's going on. You have no clue what's happening. And then the other part is you start to slowly see Vegas. Ooh. And now Utah's the favorite in this football game. They're a road favorite in this football game. So let's go, baby. Sorry, Coach, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, I think it's based on what you said. I mean, Vegas sees it just like you do. I think, you've got an established product in Utah with a coach that's been there and a culture that's been there and who they are. They're going to play good defense. They've got more speed than you think.
Yes.
And they will not be intimidated. They just won't.
No, they're not afraid.
Now, whether they're going to be deep enough to handle that, I don't know. But I do know, just like you said, they're going to play the game the right way. You're going to have to beat Utah.
Yes, they will not lose.
They're not going to screw it up. And so you've got a new coach, a whole new system, things like that. I think that, what you're trying to say and what you've said is pretty accurate.
All right. So I'm excited for that one. I'm looking forward to Utah and Florida. To me, that's game one. That's number one with a bullet for the weekend. The next one for me, listen, Clint's going to love this one. It's Cincinnati at Arkansas. The big thing for me with the Bearcats, they're the first G5 team to get to the playoff, but they lost Sauce, Kobe, Beavers, Cook, Dublanco, Sanders, Pierce, Ritter, Ford, all to the NFL.
Draft picks.
all picked in the NFL, except for Dublanco. Dublanco was a free agent.
Right.
But the rest of those guys were all picked. The Hogs lost Burks, obviously. But but they add in Hazelwood. Clint, listen, I can see it. You're froggy. Let's do it. Come on, jump in there. Jump in there.
Well, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't believe you just skirted past my ass on that Florida-Utah game, but I'm gonna let you have that one. I'm gonna let you have that one. Man, coach just got through telling you about that swamp at night. That's a 6 p.m. game, man. Them Utes ain't never experienced that, man.
Well, okay, timeout. Wait, you think that? So you don't have any faith in Utah in this game?
It's not about having faith in Utah. It's about knowing where the hell they're going.
Right.
I mean, I know it's a good football team, and they got a great culture. This is culture versus athletes. I mean, we talk about how good of a team Utah is, and look, they're like this, and there's power like that. Trust me. I mean, that's how in Arkansas we won in the SEC. It's the only way we could win.
Right.
But when we stacked up when we got on the same field with dudes that were just flat ass better than us,
yeah,
that's a whole different ball game. And that's I don't know, man. I mean, if Napier, I mean, it's going to be a tell-all about Florida. If Napier's got them boys right, and if Napier's got if
he's got them right, they should win.
If he's got AR-15, which I don't know if we can use it anymore, but if he's got Anthony Richardson right, that's the baddest man on the planet right now. I'm telling you, physically, gifts like arm and ability to run and size, that's the baddest man on the planet.
That's what Whitfield said too. That's what Whitfield said. That
it ain't even close. I mean, he's not polished, but it's not even close, bro. Like, I mean, and he's not the only animal they got in that locker room, man. He's not the only animal they got in that locker room. It don't matter if them boys go 3 years straight of 3-win football seasons. You better believe that in that locker room they got more horses than 95% of the country.
I agree.
That's what Utah's fixing to walk into. Utah better pray for rain. There's supposed to be some rain. Utah better pray for some rain. They need rain and culture, or their ass is gonna be in trouble. Now, let me get to Arkansas. Arkansas, Cincinnati. Here's where I want to go with this before I get off in my alma mater right here, Coach. The question in this rundown, and I'm picking on Dagan here because he's not the first one that's heard this. That's a touchy subject for me. Cincinnati's reload. The word reload. Reload all of a sudden just gets thrown around because Saban at Bama's done it a few times.
How about
Since when? What group of 5 team out there is reloading? You got to be shitting me.
Hang on. For the record, you're host of the show.
That you did that?
Hell
okay.
no. Hell no.
I just checking.
Hell no, that ain't me. Are you kidding me? No, I have one too, my man. Hell no. You notice when I brought that up, I never said reload. I said they lost these guys. They lost them. They lost them all to the NFL. And Coach Sumlin said as draft picks.
Yeah.
And I said, except for Dublanco, they were all draft picks. You cannot reload at Cincinnati. You can't. You can't reload at Cincinnati.
Look, I'm never going to say you can't.
I will say that you can't reload at Cincinnati.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. My point is simple, is that, I mean, there is maybe 2 or 3 coaches in America right now that we need to be throwing the reload phrase around with their programs. Obviously, Saban. I think we're for the record, Coach. I don't know if you saw this. I think we're throwing it around way too freely with Georgia based on what they lost and what they do on offense.
My man.
I mean, we're just just the whole reload thing, man. Like that's dangerous, man.
What Georgia lost on defense, I don't think is. I think. Listen, you must not know about me. You must not know about me. I can have another you in a minute. No, you can't have another Nakobe Dean in a minute. You can't have another Lewis Cine in a minute. So you're not Beyonce, Georgia. Like that won't happen.
Right, and like to your point, Clint, both of you, reload, there's levels to it, right? Alabama, that's different, right? Different completely. I think what you've seen at Clemson the last 2 years tells you when you've got to reload at that level, there's no such thing. When you lose, right. I mean, phenomenal players, even at the next level in the NFL, it's hard to replace that.
It's very hard.
Get talent. Right. And I think you're going to see that with Georgia. Alabama is probably the only place that has been able to do that consistently And then, we'll see what Kirby can do, right? And he can prove that in the next couple of years. Then you're on to the reload situation. But that team last year, it was a phenomenal football team and phenomenally talented across
historically great defense. Yes. One of the smartest defenses that I've ever seen play football.
Right. But not. The thing is, not only statistically, because I look back at, I don't remember what year it was, one of the Alabama 2010-ish teams.
Sure. Different football.
There was a defense there that I thought, for me, was the best that I'd ever personally seen play in my time, with the exception of maybe some of the Miami defenses way back in the day, right? Georgia was on that level, except I'm going to tell you, that big cat in the middle for Georgia, he just wrecks game. Like, he takes both of your guards and your center and would wreck a game. Like, he's not there anymore. The reason that Nakobe Dean could run sideline to sideline free, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I love Nakobe Dean. He's a great leader. I love everything about him, and you're not going to replace him either. But the reason that he could run sideline to sideline and never get blocked is because they couldn't block that big joker in the middle. They lost Jordan Davis, Albert Haynesworth, and Ray Lewis and Nakobe Dean back here. And by the way, both corners and a safety too, and a DN that went number 1 overall.
They still got Kelly Ringo, right? They still got Ringo.
Yeah, they got some dudes. Don't get me wrong.
Jalen Carter. Here's what I'm saying. I think Jordan Davis was amazing. I think that I don't know the best way to say this, and I want to say this. I want to put these words correctly. I think that Nakobe Dean was the catalyst for that entire defense. I think that he got Jordan Davis set up to do what he was able to do. I also I remember plays. I don't know if you guys remember this, but in the game against Michigan, and we have to talk about this Arkansas game, Cincinnati Arkansas game, man. God, but
you can talk about whatever play you want and wherever the hell Scott, Big Boy lined up. Wherever he lined up, he dominated folks 4 yards deep in the backfield. I don't give a shit how he got there. I'm saying Georgia ain't got that this year. Georgia, they don't have that dude.
I agree with you. I am agreeing with you. But when Nakobe Dean is playing Michigan and they think they're going to trick him by forcing him to cover Blake Corum outside of the numbers, and then they motion Blake Corum, and Nakobe Dean's like, yeah, over here. And then he makes a tackle for loss on the other side of the field. I'm like, oh, that's Nakobe Dean. He's just amazing. I love him. I'm not discounting Jordan Davis. I think he's amazing. I just think that Nakobe Dean does things that, and I guess this goes back to like where I stood or where I was as a football player, where I just seeing the small stuff, because you're either undersized or not as fast, and you can do all these things, and you know the play before it happens, so it gives you an extra step. Nakobe Dean was able to do that consistently, and he was able to do that for his team. I think about the national championship game where he smashes Cam Leatu in the face, creates an incomplete pass, which should have been a touchdown, which would have got the game to a 1-score game. And then he looks at Channing Tindall and he's like, "What are you doing, man? You're supposed to be here." And then the next play, the guy makes a sack, which forces Alabama to kick the field goal. I love all those things. Like that's all.
Nakobe Dean, your cousin or what?
No, man.
It's your kinfolk or what?
Listen, he might be. Listen, my grandmama from Mississippi, so he might be. Okay, let's talk.
Wait a minute, that's too much.
my grandma from Mississippi, dog. Like I got family in Mississippi. I got family in the middle of Georgia. So
let's get to this Arkansas Cincinnati game.
Let's talk this Arkansas Cincinnati game. Come on.
Look, I think this is a game where Cincinnati's not reloading. Cincinnati lost way too much star power. They lost way too much off leadership. Of their defense. They lost seven. I believe 7 starters off their defense. One of them was the top 10 draft pick corner, which is an absolute game changer. Allows you to do all kind of different things defensively. And I just think going on the road to Fayetteville, when they have returned a boatload of talent, they have their identity. They're gonna play big boy football. They were the number one rushing team in all of Power 5 last year after going through the gauntlet schedule that they had that included Georgia and the SEC West. I just think Arkansas is going to be too much for Cincinnati. No disrespect. I've made my case in a sense of, look, Arkansas is not a school that just reloads, right? So I just don't want to discredit what they've lost at Cincinnati. And I think the fact that Arkansas returned the key pieces or have answers for the key pieces that they lost.
Hazelwood, right?
Hazelwood is a good one. He's been banged up. The Landers kid that started at Georgia, and I can't remember where he went in between there, but he went somewhere. He's 6'5". He is supposed to be the real deal. So they may have something there. And when your offense is the unique aspect of what Arkansas is doing is KJ Jefferson's size. It's not your typical dual threat quarterback.
How good is KJ Jefferson? Give it to me.
Well, I mean, relative to what? I mean, I do not believe, like, there's a lot of people out there throwing him around, like in the NFL draft.
As a college football quarterback, if you had to put him into a tier, let's just limit it to the SEC. Bryce Young's the best quarterback in the SEC.
Okay.
Who's number 2? KJ Jefferson or Will Levis?
KJ, and what they do, KJ Jefferson. Hendon Hooker's in that conversation as well.
That's what I'm asking.
That's the key in what they do.
Right. That's the key. Like, everybody, you can't just generally talk about college quarterbacks because KJ's not going to be in that mix. KJ's not going to win your passing competition. But when you talk about a big-bodied quarterback that runs, I mean, he is the catalyst that drives a power run game that led the Power 5 football last year all season long. I mean, that is a powerful, powerful weapon. And that they returned everybody that's going to allow them to do that. And then they've got 2 different pieces that could possibly answer who Traylon Burks was last year. I don't think Cincinnati has enough to play with them, Coach. And I, quite frankly, I mean, I think Arkansas is going to be in that 9 to 10 win range again this year because of KJ Jefferson, that identity they have.
Look, to your point, all right, you're talking about a team that statistically, and everybody talks about, what statistics, the main statistic is for them to be able to run the ball the way they did as a football team in the SEC West, right? And then go across and play Georgia how they played them and be able to, the cats that you were just talking about, and still have some success. They've got confidence. Sam Pittman, I mean, you got an old line coach coaching this team, right? That's what they're gonna do. And so, from a quarterback standpoint, he doesn't have to win the game. He's got to manage the game. They know that. You've got a head coach who understands that, and I think, they're a really, really scary team to have to play because of the guys that are coming back, their belief in what they do, and they've been in some big football games. And I think, to your point, Cincinnati, you can't lose those kind of guys at Cincinnati and expect to be at that same level. You can coach so much, but to Clint's point, you get on that field, and these guys have been through it all last year. They've got experience. They've got a culture. They've got the physicality. They understand what they want to do and how they want to do it. And I just don't see Cincinnati being at that level again this year.
Coach, no, I tell you, Mike, real quick, I'm just talking Arkansas's defense too. Is Barry Odom? Is one of the better defensive coordinators in
Sam Carter too.
Yeah, no, they got a good staff. But the fact that when I look at Barry Odom and what they do, they're going to have to do a little bit more 4 down this year. They're going to have to have an answer for some of the power run game that's going to be thrown at them in the SEC. They haven't had an answer for that a good chunk of the year last year. But when you talk about Barry Odom and defensively what he does, I believe is the most effective, which this ain't, maybe all defense is, but versus an inexperienced quarterback, right? When you've got which Cincinnati has a bunch of inexperienced quarterbacks that are going to come up to the line of scrimmage. When I was quarterbacking, if you played cover 0 and blitzed me, I loved it because I knew exactly where I was going with the football. I can take a punch today. You can hit me all you want, but if I know where I'm going with the ball, let me get it out of my hand. I wasn't the guy that wanted to sit back there all day long and get through four receiver progression and all this kind of shit and navigate the pocket and all yada, yada, yada. I wanted to know where I was going and I wanted to get the football out of my hand. Barry Odom's going to drop 8 into coverage. And he's going to have Cincinnati's going to have young quarterbacks back there trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And I think that's going to end up being a win Arkansas as well. So I think both sides of the football, I'm pretty convinced that Arkansas's got the plus on this game one.
Clint, let me ask you this. I mean, one quick question. One of the great names in all of college football. Is Bumper Pool the same age as you? How long has he been there?
We crossed over 1 year.
Playing forever, right? So you've got those guys on the field who understand what's going on, and he's played so much football. Well, he's got to be 30 now, I guess. I don't know, but somehow, and he's a good player.
Coach, that's the crazy thing, and A&M is a different animal because I think A&M belongs in the Florida, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Tennessee. Like I believe that they're on that tier 1 of SEC schools, or should be every year. But Arkansas, we just don't have the dudes, man. Like we just didn't have we typically don't. And I'm getting to your point. Like the reason Bumper Pool is who he is because of COVID-19, right? And because year-wise, and then obviously some of the grad transfers that were able to come in and help him have success at that linebacker position. So, I mean, there's a couple of things that have happened over the last 5 or 6 years of hell in our world, actually, but in college football as well, that's allowed these middle-of-the-pack schools to create and develop depth that we've never had. Arkansas's never had depth at defensive line and offensive line. I mean, very, very rarely. I mean, maybe some of the Petrino years, maybe my year, my junior year and senior year. But I mean, I'm talking about a handful of years over the last 30 that you can say, boy, Arkansas's got some really good depth, the O-line and D-line. They've been able to create that. And guys like Bumper Pool are actually, I mean, all bullshitting aside, I mean, that's a guy that goes in there and just has balled out and is going to end up leading Arkansas, like being a leading tackle in Arkansas history because he's been able to play forever and play with better D linemen than most.
Well, on a side note, I know he's old because, believe it or not, I had him on an official visit at A&M. That's a long time ago, right?
He's a Texas boy.
He's a good player. But I'm like, there's no way this dude's still playing college football. Look up, and he's running around. Yeah, exactly. But to your point, I mean, you've got guys like that with Barry Odom on defense. He understands it. All right. He's played in big games all over the place. That is a veteran football team who understands what they want to do offensively and defensively. And they're going to be a tough out in the SEC West.
Yeah, I agree. I am worried about what we're gonna do without Ridgeway. That's the one thing that stands out to me. We got to keep moving, guys. We have 2 more games that we have to talk about, and then we got to get to the under the radar games. We only have 7 minutes, so I'm doing this to keep it moving.
No more timeouts.
No, I might have to call like this. I might give me a 30. But Utah State at Bama. The Aggies did not look good against UConn. I don't know if you guys watched that game. They did not look good against UConn. And maybe that's like Jim Mora is like pushing UConn forward and they're doing good stuff. I like their running backs. They got a couple of guys that look really shifty. I don't think Utah State's going to scare Alabama, but what do we want to see out of Alabama coming in with 2 guys that probably are going to they're either going to go 1-3 or 1-2 or 2-3 in the NFL draft. I'll start with you, Coach Sumlin.
Alabama will win the game.
Sure.
I mean,
what do you want to see?
I'm saying, I think right now Alabama's figuring out who they really are. We all know who the stars are. What Nick has done a great job in a game like this. There are going to be guys that may have not started and played a lot the last year. That they're going to develop the other guys in this game. You're going to see a lot of guys play, get on tape, see what they can do. They're going to make mistakes, put guys in there because he understands to be where he wants to be. That team's going to have to develop depth, and he's never overlooked any opponent. But
Right.
I think you're going to see a lot of guys play against Utah State and get that kind of experience, but it won't even be close.
I'm going to call timeout before Clint jumps in. I'm going to call timeout. Sumlin, you've coached against Nick Saban. When you beat him, what do you think he does? Do you think he's got a team of people just locked in a closet trying to figure out how to beat you the next year? What do you like? What's his reaction to this?
No, I think that, he understands the whole everything about football. I mean, when I was there, Kevin Steele was the senior analyst, right? Kirby was in the back room. All these guys who are head coaches were not even on the field coaching. So he's already got those guys employed there. The next coaches, not just head coaches, but head coaches in the SEC, like Billy Napier, right?
Yeah,
like Mike Locksley,
exactly.
Like Sark, like all these guys. So
Lane Kiffin.
You've got a who's who of talent in the back room besides the 9 full-time assistants and himself. So yeah, there are guys assigned to every team. There's guys there that understand what they need to do, and they have a study on you the whole time. And so the game's decided on the field, but from really from a manpower standpoint, Nick was way ahead of the game with that, and that's showing up with the number of head coaches that he's produced that really weren't even on the field for him during half those years. When Lane's calling plays, you had Sark and Locksley in the background doing stuff on Monday the week before, right? So when he shows up on Sunday, he's working on normal downs, not third down, not red zone. That's done by real coaches, not GAs. So that is a system that he has. It's been very, very successful. And I think Kirby being there and some of the coaches that left understand that. And you're seeing that implemented across the board with a lot of guys who left.
All right, Clint, get in here, man.
I think this is easy with obviously Alabama. I mean, but I do believe that Alabama's got a lot of work to do, man. I mean, I think Alabama, this is a game to prep for their running another national title. They got bit last year and got bit in the worst way with it being Georgia. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, is this the year that losing all these first round receivers to the NFL catches up with them, or is it Jermaine Burton, a guy that can come over there from Georgia, right? Anyone that bounced from Georgia? See, there you go. Damn, we're in a hurry, Mike. Damn.
I know we're in a hurry, but I want to ask you this: what do you think? Because we saw Jordan Addison go from Pitt to USC. We see Hazelwood go to Arkansas. We see Burton come to Alabama. Is wide receiver maybe the best position for the transfer portal?
I don't know. Quarterback hadn't been bad either, right? So you got a new guy at Texas. You got a new guy at SC.
Well, Clint, finish your Alabama, and then we'll talk about the quarterback in the transfer portal at Texas. We'll talk about it.
Look, you get my point. I mean, is Jermaine Burton a dude or not? I mean, they've got guys that they need to see step up and make plays. I don't give a damn if it's us three over on defense. They got guys that they need to suit up and go over there and make plays. They got some dudes that they got to replace now, and right. And then the other one, I think that a lot of people have high hopes for Jahmyr Gibbs, man, the transfer from Georgia Tech. I mean, I think that's a guy that is going to be it's a little bit of a unique fit for what Alabama's done in the past. You throw a big back there that's 230 and that can run, and they run it downhill and punish folks. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a guy that's going to be used in the pass game. He's going to be used differently. That takes reps. And so, I think this is a game that Alabama runs away with, but ultimately I think it's valuable snaps, valuable reps for a team that needs it. I mean, Alabama, we're talking about, anytime we talk about Alabama, the context is national championship, period.
Yes,
This team needs work with this quarterback, with one of the best in the country, and his skill players in game time situations. So that's all I'm watching for in this football game, Mike.
We're on the same page. I think Gibbs is going to be interesting because he brings a little bit of that Alvin Kamara-ness to this team, and maybe or even Kenyon Drake-ish to this team. And he's incredibly explosive. He's going to work in your return game as well. I just want to see if Nick Saban knows how to use him now. versus remember when he had Kamara, when he had Drake, they were still a football team. And Coach, you played against them. They were still a football team that just threw to one wide receiver all the time. Yeah, like, look, we just throw to this guy.
Yeah, but they're a complete football team. I mean, they got talent all over the place. So, when Alvin left, he shows back up. You're not the rookie of the year in the NFL. Just
exactly.
We played Tennessee, and they left Big Boy at home. And I walked out and saw Butch. I said, "No, you're not playing him today." And he's like, "Yep, we're getting ready to play him." And completely different game plan. We were talking about Kamara's in a whole nother league. So
yes, amazing.
And amazing football player. So I think what you got to find out, just like Clint said, like you said, there are going to be valuable snaps in this game to try to find out who this team really is and who are going to be the difference makers for Alabama this year.
I think it's going to be interesting when they lose Billingsley, which I guess it just felt like it wasn't a good fit for them. Jaleel Billingsley, the tight end, and how they operate the tight end position is going to be interesting too, because they had, was it Randolph or Rudolph? Randolph, I believe, where they had they had a 4-star offensive guard that they lined up at tight end in their tight bunch packages, and everyone was like, "Well, he's a tight end." Like, no, this guy's a guard, and he's just blocking everyone. This is going to be a run play, so it's going to be interesting. But Billingsley is now at Texas, and so when we talk to Texas, they play Louisiana Monroe. They play Louisiana Monroe this week. They play Alabama next week, if I'm not mistaken. What do we need to see out of Quinn Ewers? Ewers, obviously, the guy with the $1 million NIL. I don't want to talk about NIL. I don't care. Get money, get paid, go do your thing. That doesn't matter. A week ago, I watched Drake May, UNC, and they tried to work out kinks offensively, but the defense wasn't good. And with Texas, I guess the two questions I have with Texas, one is a Quinn Ewers question. What do we need to see out of Ewers to make us feel confident in him, in Texas, in Sark? Listen, we all love Bijan Robinson. I think we can all agree on that, right?
No doubt.
We all like Bijan. Okay. So what else? What do we need to see from Quinn Ewers to make it happen? And then also, how can you win a conference if your lead sack getter only gets 2.5 sacks?
I'll say this, right? Just watching them and seeing the talent level. Right now, Texas probably has three of the best group of running backs in the country. And I call them
okay.
You got two Robinsons and a Johnson, right? So, and Bijan doesn't have to do it all. They've got three high-profile running backs.
Yes.
They've got two guys on the outside to run 10, 200 meters. One of the guy comes back, it led the Big 12 in touchdown catches. Okay, so they've got talent around him. And the question for Texas is going to be, as it's been for the last 5 years, who is the O-line? I mean, who's going to block, right? Who's going to protect him? And I think Sark is going through that. They're going to have enough play action. They've got enough speed on the perimeter to get the ball down the field. So I think it'll be interesting to see with Texas. The question is going to be, as you said, defensively, who's going to show up for Texas? And if they take some steps there, I think offensively Ewers didn't have to do so much because of their running game and because of the speed on the perimeter.
All right, come on, Clint. Let's go. I know you look like you got a lot to say.
Well, I mean, I always got a lot to say. Hell, half of it don't make sense, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Look, I mean, when you talk about Quinn Ewers, like he shouldn't be put in position at this point in time to have to win ball games. Coach just talked to you about the speed on the outside and the game changers on the outside and the running backs that they have. To me, this is about Steve Sarkisian, because I watched Steve Sarkisian last year and against Arkansas. I watched him from the sideline up close and personal. And Arkansas skull drugged the University of Texas. And that should not have happened. Arkansas was probably a better football team, probably should have won the ball game. But if you were Sarkisian in the Texas Longhorns, you went home embarrassed. Not just beat, you went home embarrassed. That was a football game where Hudson Card was overwhelmed the entire time. The kid never had a chance. Now, the offensive line stunk. Bijan Robinson couldn't get rolling. They couldn't throw the ball. Ultimately, this is about Steve Sarkisian putting the quarterback in a position to stay ahead of the chains, distribute the football in the quick game accurately, get you a good, clean pre-snap read and make a quick decision, get the ball out, commit to the run game. Don't get into a situation where you consistently put this kid in gun with one back in the backfield and he's throwing into a 7 or 8 man zone defense that they're going to drop into. You do not, and obviously that I'm not talking about this game. Texas is going to handle business this week, I think. But big picture for Texas, it's about avoiding putting your quarterback in a bad spot until your quarterback shows you, I'm that dude. Take the reins off, take the cuffs off, and let me go play. I think Sark's got an explosive offense. I think he wants to go out and do these explosive, deep crossing routes and take all these shots and light the world on fire. And I think with a young quarterback, he's got to pull the reins back a little bit, protect that guy, let him come into his own. This would be a great week to do that. And Quinn Ewers, he should be on the clock. Coach, if Quinn holds the ball for 2 seconds against ULM, I'm going to dog cuss him on the numbers. You know what I mean? Like, if this turns into Quinn Ewers running around looking like damn Johnny Manziel trying to win ball games, it's not going to work, right? I mean, ain't been but one Johnny. Quinn, you ain't that guy. Like, this needs to be just a smooth, fluid, efficient game this week, because ultimately I think that's how they're going to have to win until this kid comes into his own.
And again, I think it's more than just him. You got a lot of young O-linemen. That line has not been very good the last few years. You know, they got to figure out which one of those young guys are going to play. They're probably, by the end of the year, they're probably going to start 3 of them. The 5 they signed, they're really talented, but they're young O-linemen. And that's one of the hardest positions to play, as we know, as a young player. So how that O-line comes along, I think Sark's smart enough to figure out, hey, we keep the pressure off of Quinn. You know, let's give it to these 3 running backs, through a little play action, and then see what happens.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem, Mike, and I know we're on it. They got Bama week 2, boss. they got Bama week 2, boss. So I don't know if any of my game plan that I just said is going to work beyond ULM, but that's ultimately. I mean, they got to take care of the kid, man. Right now they ain't ready for Bama. They can't let Bama ruin the kid.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I was trying to, if you guys could see, I was like over here in my bag. I'm trying to figure out how many negative plays they had, and they gave up 27 sacks, 63 tackles for loss, which is 90 negative plays, and then what?
Mike, here's the deal. Here's the deal with Sark in Texas. Like, they should be, you're not looking past anybody, but they should be shooting for week 6. The OU Texas game,
Red River Shootout. That's what they should be focused on. That's the game that they should make their debut.
Have that kid nice and weathered, and have everybody healthy and ready, if at all possible, at that OU game. To me, that's the one where we're going to find out if Texas is back. I don't give a shit what happens against Alabama. They ain't ready for that.
I'm tired of saying Texas is back. Honestly, like,
well, I mean, what are we doing here?
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I listen, I understand that the people that are watching, they live off that, right? Is USC back? Is Texas back? They live on that stuff. But I guess I'm tired of, like, you know how I know when you're back? When you go to back something, when you do a thing that's like really good. You do the thing. I don't
even know what back means. But I think when you look at the University of Texas, the landscape of college football is better when Texas is playing good football and when SC is playing good football out west. And
I agree.
And ultimately, I think we will know. I think the OU game will tell us more about the Longhorns and Sarkisian than week 2 against Alabama. That's just where I'm at with Texas.
Well, that's the same thing as USC. When I was talking to my buddy Max Brown, and he was at USC and they played Alabama, and he was like, "Oh man, they kicked our ass. It was very bad for us." So let's do this. All right, 30 seconds, and then we got to get out of here. I've already gone over time. Dagan is already telling me that I've gone over time. 30 seconds. Under the radar game. Give me one game that you're looking for, whether it's for gambling, entertainment, intriguing scheme, a game that you're watching for that's under the radar on week 1. Starting with Clint.
I'm going to go U of H and UTSA. UTSA is a team that
Frank Harris, baby.
Yeah. I mean, I think they did some good things recently, and U of H is a team that's got really high expectations as a Group of 5, the team that should represent the Group of 5 this year, with Cincinnati graduating everybody. So I think that's one that's kind of flying under the radar because of the Oregon Georgias and the Cincinnati Arkansas and Utah Floridas. That U of H UTSA game could mean a little something.
I love that one. I will say this: love Frank Harris. I've loved watching his development over the course of the last 3 years. He's been amazing. I will challenge you on this and say that Grayson McCall and Coastal Carolina, I think, might be the team that gets the representation from the G5. But I love that UTSA pick. Coach Sumlin, what do you got?
I agree with that one, though, too. But you got to remember, Houston was 12-2 last year, flying under the radar. This is Dana's oldest team since he's been there. 4 years now. It's a pretty good football team. UTSA is
what do
good.
You think you know Houston football?
Maybe a little bit. But I'm interested to see, as I pointed out before, the under the radar Purdue, Penn State. Who are these guys, right? Who's Penn State this year?
I don't know.
Nobody knows, right? Who's Purdue this year? We've seen both these teams win big games in the Big Ten, and we've seen them fall on their face, right? So this first game to start off on national TV, Thursday night is a big game for both programs. I'm anxious to see who shows up.
I love that. That's a great pick. I'm a Sean Clifford fan. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to him, but I saw Sean Clifford in high school, and he had like a baby face, like big cheeks. And now he's kind of like ripped up and like jacked. And I'm like, this dude, Sean Clifford showed up looking like a snack. What are we doing now? So I'm in there. I'm going back to the well for me. I'm super excited to watch UNC and App State. I think that folks are sleeping on App State versus Coastal. And I know they're in the same division in the Sun Belt, but I think that's going to be the team that ends up with being the top ranked G5. So App State, I think they're going to get off to a hot start against a UNC team that apparently doesn't play defense. We got to wrap it up, folks. This is Field of 12 After Dark for Kevin Sumlin. I'm pointing the wrong way. I don't know which way I am on the screen, but for Kevin Sumlin, for Clint Stoerner, I'm Michael Felder from Stadium. Guys, let's do it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Are we not cheersing?
He's out.
He's already done.
Damn, y'all wearing me out, boss.